What if your mindset towards failing was just like, it's really kind of impossible to fail because even if I fall, the Lord will uphold me and he will lift me up and he will put me back on my feet. Like, how would that change your life? Remember, the Lord has your back. And that's not a cliche. This is real. As a person of faith, you're going through this life and you have a God that has promised to support you and sustain you. How do I know that? Listen to Psalm 145. The Lord, say it with me, the Lord upholds. Come on, a little bit louder. The Lord upholds. That means to put my hand underneath you and sustain you. And he not only promises to uphold us, watch this, he lifts up those who are bowed down. So when you fall, which you will fail, he literally puts his hand under you and holds you up and then lifts you back up to put you back on your feet. Last week we looked at a verse in Psalm 24 that says, the godly fall 7 times, but they get back up. Amen? Like, we have a God that supports us. Do you believe that? Do you go through life that way? I hope that you do. Peter is a great example of this. Peter failed time and time again, right? He failed when he took a sword out and cut the centurion's ear off, right? He failed when he denied Jesus 3 times, right? He failed when he misunderstood Jesus' words when he was trying to describe how he would die and rise again. What did Peter say when Jesus said that? He said, no, they won't kill you. I won't let that happen. You know what Jesus said to Peter? Get behind me, Satan. You're thinking like a man and not like God. Like Peter was repeatedly failing over and over and over. In Matthew chapter 14, Peter and the disciples see Jesus walking on the water towards their boat, and there's a storm and they're freaking out. They think Jesus is a ghost, and Jesus says, no, it's me. And so Peter responds back to Jesus when he realizes that it's him. And he says these words in Matthew 14. And Peter called out to the Lord, Lord, if it's really you out there and it's not a ghost, take our boat back to the land. That's what I would have said. Right? There's a storm. It's scary. I just want to live. I just want to get back to my house. I want to get back to my wife. Peter had a wife. I would have said, Lord, if it's really you, save us. Get this boat back to land. No, not Pete. He's got a different idea. Pete says, tell me to come out in the water and walk on it with you. Why would you even make that request? Come on. When you read the Bible, you got to ask yourself these questions. Like, okay, wait, I would have said this, but he said this. What's going on? You know what I think is going on? Peter saw in the text, Jesus had just fed 5,000 people with a few loaves of fish and some bread. He knew what Jesus was capable of, and he thought to himself, this is an opportunity to tap into some divine, miraculous power. And he says to Jesus, with you on my side, with you in my view, there's nothing that's impossible. A human being has never walked on water before, ever in the history. No one had seen that done. I don't even know why Peter thought he could do it unless he looked at Jesus and said, man, I can't even fail with this guy. This guy just turned enough food, a couple of loaves of fish and pieces of bread, into enough food to feed 5,000. He can do anything. And if I screw it up, he will grab me and he will lift me up. The Lord upholds those who fall and he lifts up those who are cast down. And so Peter says, I want to walk on the water too. So Jesus is like, okay, let's do it. Watch what happens. Peter went over the side of the boat. How do you do that? How do you do that? I get up on a diving board that's 10 feet high. I can't even jump off the diving board. How do you go over the side of the water? There's a storm going. How do you have the courage to do that unless you believe it's impossible to fail? Peter goes over the side of the boat and he does what no human being has ever done before or since. He walks on water. Unfortunately, Pete's like me and you. We get scared. We get up to the plate, we look at how big the pitcher is and how fast he's throwing, and we get scared. What if I'm going to strike out? And we start to get our eyes off Jesus, and that's exactly what happens. Watch. But when he saw the strong winds, when he saw how big the pitcher was and how fast his fastball was and how nasty his curveball was, when he saw the waves, right, he was terrified and began to what? Sink. But see, Pete had a plan. He knew all along. It's impossible to fail. So he calls out to Jesus, save me. And look what Jesus does. I love it. I love it. He immediately reached out and he sustained him. He lifted him up. He grabbed Peter and pulled him back in that boat. See, I believe this is how we're supposed to live. I know it's a little bit crazy. I'm on the edge right now. I can feel it. I can feel it. Some of you are like, I don't know, Pastor Danny. You should back off the edge right now. You're really close. What if I got a little closer? I mean, you're really close. You're pushing it. Are you saying that I should live recklessly? Are you saying that I should just risk everything all the time, and it's impossible to fail? No. I'm not telling you to be silly, okay? I'm not telling you to go home and quit your job. I'm not telling you to go home and leave your spouse. I'm not telling you to do anything sinful. I'm not telling you have a license to sin. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, what if your attitude, what if your mindset towards failing was just like, it's really kind of impossible to fail because even if I fall, the Lord will uphold me and he will lift me up and he will put me back on my feet. Like, how would that change your life? What would you attempt? What would you go for? What would you try? How would you live?